Finding Your Purpose Through Faith. Introduction. The search for meaning in a fast-moving world filled with distractions. Many people struggle with a deep question: what is my purpose? Some chase success, others seek love, and many feel lost despite having everything they once dreamed of. But what if the answer isn't found in external achievements, but in faith? This is the story of Sarah, a young woman in New York who had everything, yet felt empty inside. Her journey of faith led her to discover a purpose far greater than she ever imagined. Scene 1, The Illusion of Success. Sarah had a life many envied. At 28, she had a well-paying corporate job, a beautiful apartment, and a social life filled with parties and travel. Yet, every night, when she lay in bed, an unsettling feeling crept in. Why do I feel like something is missing? She often wondered. She scrolled through social media, seeing influencers living glamorous lives, but even they didn't seem genuinely happy. She read self-help books, meditated, and attended networking events, yet the emptiness persisted. One night, after a particularly exhausting day, she whispered into the silence, "God, if you're there, show me my purpose." Scene 2, A divine encounter. The next evening, while walking home, Sarah noticed an old church she had passed many times before. But this time, something felt different. Outside, a sign read, "Feeling lost? God has a plan for you." Her heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, then, almost involuntarily, walked through the church doors. Inside, a warm light filled the space. A few people sat in the pews, their heads bowed in prayer. A preacher stood at the altar, speaking gently. Many of us search for meaning in the wrong places. But true purpose comes when we align ourselves with God's plan. Sarah felt tears welling up. She didn't fully understand why, but something about those words resonated deep within her. Scene 3. The search for purpose. That night, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about what she had heard. She dusted off an old Bible her grandmother had given her years ago and started reading. She came across Jeremiah 29 verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." The words struck her heart like never before. She realized she had spent years trying to create her own plan, but maybe, just maybe, God had a greater one for her. She started praying daily, asking, "God, what do you want me to do?" Slowly, she began noticing small signs. Scene 4, A new path unfolds. One weekend, Sarah decided to volunteer at a homeless shelter. At first, she was nervous, unsure of how she could help. But as she served food and listened to the stories of the people there, something inside her lit up. For the first time in years, she felt a deep, unshakable joy. One elderly woman at the shelter held her hand and said, "You have a kind heart, dear. Keep following it." That night, Sarah realized something profound. Her purpose wasn't about climbing the corporate ladder. It was about serving others, spreading kindness, and using her life for something greater than herself. Scene 5, Living with Faith. Sarah didn't quit her job immediately, but she began making changes. She prioritized her spiritual growth, joined a faith-based community, and continued volunteering. Over time, she felt a shift. She was no longer just living for herself but for something far bigger. The emptiness that once consumed her was gone. One evening, she journaled her thoughts. Purpose isn't about what we achieve, it's about who we become in God's hands. She smiled, knowing that she was finally on the right path. Conclusion: your purpose awaits. Like Sarah, many of us feel lost at some point in life. But faith reminds us that we were created for a reason. When we seek God's guidance, He leads us to a purpose that is fulfilling, meaningful, and eternal. If you've ever felt lost, remember this: God has a plan for you. Trust Him, and He will reveal it in ways you never expected.